Grandpa's shocking act towards his 70-year-old mother will leave you speechless. In the quaint little town of Maplewood, everyone knew Harold. The 78-year-old man had spent his life tethered to the values of tradition, loyalty, and family. His rugged hands, which once cradled the soil of his family's farmhouse, now held a weight of choices that his neighbors never expected. You could feel the gossip ripple through the streets when Harold put up the "For Sale" sign. It was a sensation that had hearts racing. A familiar farmhouse where generations of laughter echoed had suddenly become a property with a price tag. Who did he think he was? As folks whispered about Harold's choice, the real shock came when he announced his plan to place his 70-year-old mother, Eleanor, in a cutting-edge care facility, a gleaming building. It promised not just care, but something more, an almost miraculous memory enhancement program. The locals couldn't believe it. They gasped and exchanged knowing looks, voices dropping to hushed tones as they passed the news like a scandalous secret. What was he thinking? They murmured. Who does that to their own mother? But beneath all the clucking, beneath the satin of their judgment, there simmered a deeper thread of family tension, unspoken for decades, that had finally reached the surface. As Eleanor arrived at the facility, she seemed lost, eyes shimmering with confusion. Yet, amid the glossy decor and unfamiliar faces, something began to change. Days turned into weeks. And in an unexpected twist, Eleanor started to engage. Words flowed from her lips like a bubbling brook. Memories that had been stripped from her suddenly returned. The townsfolk gasped collectively, not believing their eyes when they saw the delightful spark in her gaze. Could it be true? But as the news of Eleanor's recovery spread, odd coincidences surfaced. Harold received phone calls, muffled voices of strangers who spoke of family secrets. Letters delivered with postmarks from forgotten places, each detail draping shadows that warped his once sharp image of his mother and their legacy. The farmhouse echoed whispers of the past. Relics buried deep in their family history began creeping back into consciousness. With every detail Eleanor recalled, Harold felt a tightening in his chest. What did he really know about his mother, about their lineage? The clock ticked ominously in their new lives, fragmenting the comfortable silence they shared. With each passing moment, Harold was forced to confront his unsaid fears. That he locked the door on his family's history just as he had the farmhouse. Caught between the judgment of the town and the shadows of his past, Harold took a deep breath. Would he dare to dig deeper into the mysteries enveloping his mother's recovery? What hidden connections lay between his choices and the burdens Eleanor carried for so long? Would he have the courage to uncover the truth, or would the relentless tides of gossip sweep him away? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Caught between the judgment of the town and the shadows of his past, Harold took a deep breath. Would he dare to dig deeper into the mysteries enveloping his mother's recovery? What hidden connections lay between his choices and the burdens Eleanor carried for so long? He reached for his phone, the screen lighting up with a message. It was from Eleanor. Just 2 simple words. Meet me. The request sent a shiver down Harold's spine. He waited until the sun began to dip, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The air felt heavy, thick with unsaid things. As he approached the facility, with each step, dread coiled tighter in his stomach. "Where is she?" he asked the attendant at the front desk, heart racing. "Room 205, she replied, her eyes darting, as he walked down the narrow hallway. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry bees. When he reached her room, the door was slightly ajar. He could hear Eleanor's voice, but something was off. It wasn't just the eager babble of a recovering mind. It had a weight to it, a depth Harold had never heard. He hesitated. A loud laugh erupted behind the door, something so joyful it felt out of place. Pushing it open, he stepped inside. Eleanor wasn't alone. At her side sat a stranger, a man in his late 40s, thick hair, eyes, not just from her recovering memory, but something more. Her spirit was alive, free. But that didn't ease the knot tightening in his chest. "This is Jacob," Eleanor said, her voice bright. "He's family." The weight of her words landed like a stone in Harold's gut. Family? Who was this man? "Your brother," Jacob said smoothly, as if the words had been rehearsed. "No, no, that's impossible," Harold stammered, barely able to keep his voice steady. Memories flickered through his mind like old film, family gatherings, birthday celebrations. He could see his mother's laugh, her breathless joy. "You're lying!" The laughter faded from Eleanor's face, replaced with something sad. "He's not lying, Harold. I had to forget some things, to protect you." "Protect me? From what?" he shot back, the room growing smaller, walls closing in. "The truth," Jacob spoke again, his voice low, dripping with secrets. "We weren't just farmers, Harold. We were part of something bigger, something dangerous." The sudden shift in atmosphere felt like ice plunged into hot water, radiating shock. Harold wrestled with disbelief. "What are you talking about?" "Your father was a spy," Jacob revealed. "He had to cut ties, erase our history to keep us safe. But now, it's all coming back." A crash of memories rolled over him, a world he thought he knew shattered before his eyes. The peaceful evenings at the farmhouse, the quiet routines, were they all a facade? Eleanor reached for Harold, her eyes pleading. "Please, we have so much to talk about. It's time for you to know the truth." Heartbeat quickening, mind racing, Harold stepped back. You could hear the whispers of the townspeople echoing in his ears. A myriad of voices, gasps of disbelief, the weight of betrayal blanketing him. "Family?" he repeated, the word tasting foreign on his tongue. "What else have you hidden from me?" The room felt like it was spinning. He could barely breathe. All he knew was flipping like a page of a book in his mind. The story of his life, it was no longer what it seemed. What else was lurking in the shadows? What would he find next? Harold took one last look at the two of them, familiar yet foreign, and turned to leave, the mystery deepening with every step. So many questions bubbled inside him, but one loomed larger than the rest. Was there still time to uncover the past before it consumed him? Harold stepped back, his head swirling. Family? The word poured from Eleanor's lips like a bitter truth, and he struggled to grasp it. Jacob, her alleged brother, smiled too wide. Nothing felt right. What had Eleanor hidden for all these years? "Stop!" he yelled, voice trembling. "What else do you know?" But in that moment, chaos erupted. A loud siren blared from outside. For a second, everyone froze. The sound sliced through the air, a warning of something wrong. Then, in an instant, the lights flickered violently before, plunging the room into darkness. Panic swelled inside him. A chill went down his spine as he fumbled for his phone, desperately trying to light the way. "Harold?" Eleanor's voice broke through the shadows. "Stay close!" But the darkness was thick and suffocating. He could barely see her. Heart racing, adrenaline surged. He stepped forward, bumping into the edge of a cart, knocking something heavy to the floor. Clamor echoed in the hall, mixed with the blaring sirens outside. Suddenly, the door swung open and a figure dashed in. A security guard, face flushed. "Everyone needs to evacuate," he shouted, urgency in his voice. "There's been an incident." What kind of incident? Harold managed to get out, confusion swirling around them. He needed answers, his heart pounding like a drum. Before the guard could respond, the building shook. It felt like an earthquake, walls rattling, a low rumble echoing through the facility. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. Harold swayed, the ground unsteady beneath him. "Out! Now!" screamed the guard, urgency lacing his tone. He grabbed Eleanor by the arm, pulling her toward the door. "No! Wait!" Harold yelled, panicking as Eleanor was dragged away. "I need to talk to her!" But the guard's grip was unyielding. "There's no time!" They spilled onto the hallway, a swarm of terrified residents and workers rushing past them. Then, from the corner of his eye, Harold spotted something strange. A flicker of movement down the hall. A shadow darting. Between rooms, fleeting yet familiar. Panic surged. It was too dark to see, but deep down he sensed who it might be. "Harold!" Eleanor's voice echoed through the chaos, clear and desperate. "Harold, come back!" "I'm here!" he shouted, heart screaming, but the crowd pushed him forward, a wave of fear. The tremors shook the building again, stronger this time. And then came another noise, a gunshot. It pierced the air like a knife, leaving silence in its wake. Swallowed by gasps from the crowd, Harold froze, adrenaline boiling over. Horror crept in, paint smeared across his vision. "What was that?" he shouted, heart racing in his chest, body rigid. "Stay together!" the guard yelled, sounding calmer than he felt. But there was panic swimming in his eyes. Harold's feet moved like lead, frozen in that moment. The room, the fear, the familial betrayal. But in that swirling darkness, reality shattered. The truth was unraveling, and he was caught in the storm. "Eleanor!" he cried out, panic clawing at him. She was lost in the crowd. He turned, scanning faces, searching, and just then, the door he had seen that shadow near creaked open wide. A woman stepped out, her eyes wide, a familiar face. It was someone he never expected to see. Someone who would flip everything he thought he knew upside down. "Mom?" Her voice wavered, full of sorrow. And in that moment, nothing made sense anymore. All that he believed, all that he had fought against, crashed down around him. The reality of his past evaporated like mist. "Why are you here?" he whispered, stepping backward in disbelief. What was happening? Her gaze met his, filled with hurt, filled with untold stories. "To save you, Harold. We don't have much time." Harrowing urgency cut through her words, electrifying the air between them, and the world twisted again, as if everything was falling apart. What was she saying? What had he gotten into? The shadows loomed closer, enveloping them. The answers were there, but now it felt like time was running out. Harold stood at the edge of a chasm, teetering on the brink of truth. Would he jump in, ready or not? Would he dare to follow? The question clung to him like smoke in the air, whispering of the chaos yet to come. "Mom," Harold whispered, frozen in disbelief. His mind raced, memories swirling as he tried to process her presence. Why was she here? What had she hidden from him? As she stepped closer, tears shimmered in her eyes. "I never wanted you to find out like this. I thought I could protect you." Her voice trembled, raw with emotion. But the chaos around them made it hard to focus. The sirens blared outside, thick with urgency. Eleanor, pulled along by the guard, was lost in the throng. "Mom, wait!" He reached out, but the crowd surged forward. He felt a crushing sense of panic, the walls closing in, the air thick with fear. Then, amidst the turmoil, the lights flickered back on. A moment of clarity enveloped the room, highlighting the distressed faces around him. But before he could process anything more, the unmistakable sound of gunfire exploded through the air again, echoing down the hall like a shockwave. More screams followed, wrapping around him like a vice. The ground shook again as chaos erupted. Harold's heart pounded against his chest, an avalanche of adrenaline coursing through him. "Mom!" he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. He spun, searching for her face, feeling completely lost. Suddenly, a commotion at the door drew his attention. A man burst in, wild-eyed, breathing rapidly. "They're coming! We need to go!" His voice was urgent, a frantic rhythm that whirled around the room. "Now!" With the guard still holding Eleanor's arm, Harold made a split-second decision. He moved toward his mother, shoving through the crowd. The whispers of the town felt distant now, drowned out by the pounding in his ears. "We can't leave her!" he yelled over the din. But the guard pulled Eleanor away, beckoning toward another exit. "We need to evacuate. There's no time to waste." A shiver slithered down Harold's spine as he caught the guard's eye. "What's happening? Who are they?" "Just move," the guard barked, urgency spilling from his voice like spilled ink. Then, cracking through the tension, a trilling voice cut through the crowd. It was Jacob, appearing from behind a corner, face twisted in a smile that sent a chill down Harold's spine. "This is all so fun, isn't it?" "Fun?" Harold spat, heart racing. "What do you know about this?" Jacob stepped forward, cool confidence radiating, eyes glistening with chaotic delight. "The game's just begun, brother." And in that moment, the guard's hand slipped from Eleanor's arm. Just long enough for her to turn toward Jacob. "What game?" she asked, voice trembling. "What have you done?" Jacob's gaze shifted, dark and calculating. "I figured it was time for the family to reunite. After all, Dad has some skeletons, doesn't he?" Confusion swamped Harold. He glanced back at his mother, searching for clarity, but found only fear etched on her features. Then the ground shook again, the building vibrating ominously. "Get out now!" the wild-eyed man shouted, trying to push the crowds into action. But Jacob simply chuckled, a sound that rattled in Harold's bones. "You have no idea what's really happening here, but soon you will." "Enough!" Eleanor cried, moving forward. A wave of maternal courage surged through her. "You'll stop this, Jacob!" But before she could reach him, panic erupted. The shrill of alarms shrieked louder, deafening in the chaos. An explosion rocked the building. Dust and debris rained down around them, sending everyone into a frenzied scramble. Harold felt the world spin. The bitter taste of fear clawed at him. "Eleanor!" he shouted, again. But her figure was lost in the blinding dust. Then he caught sight of Jacob, eyes gleaming, the remnants of his calm facade slipping. "You don't know what family means, do you?" he hissed, his voice buried beneath the cacophony. And just like that, Harold's heart stuttered. What did he truly know about his family? The twisting revelations piled on, drowning him. He reached for the last thread connecting them, only to watch it fray. Darkness clawed at the edges of his vision. He felt his pulse quickening, an electric hum vibrating through his limbs. Fear, confusion, and anger swirled into a violent storm inside him. "What do you mean?" he gasped. But Jacob merely laughed, a sound that echoed ominously. "Welcome to the truth, Harold. Welcome to the family." And before he could process the weight of those words, the air burned with uncertainty. The shadows closed in tighter, leaving him teetering on the brink. What if everything he knew was a lie? What if the truth was darker than he could ever have imagined? He took one last look at the chaos surrounding him, uncertainty spiraling like a vortex. Would he uncover the truth, or would it swallow him whole? Harold stood there, hearts pounding, as Jacob's chilling declaration echoed in his ears. "Welcome to the family." Each word twisted like a knife. Everything he thought he knew about his life, his past, was it all just a fabrication? Then, from deep, within the chaos, came an unearthly shriek that could freeze blood. A woman dashed down the hall, hair wild and eyes wide with terror. She stumbled towards them, clothing torn, breathless, and shaking. "Help! They're coming!" Before Harold could process what she meant, lights flickered again, plunging him back into the dark. The fear around him intensified, cracking through the tension like lightning. He turned, looking at Eleanor, desperate for some kind of guidance. "Stay close, please," he shouted. But she was glued to the had hold of everyone. Jacob grinned, eyes sparkling with excitement. "What's wrong, Harold? Don't you want to meet us? All of us?" "Enough," Eleanor yelled, stepping in front of Harold like a shield. "You're lying. You think you can just waltz back in here?" But the woman collapsed onto the floor, gasping. "They're not who you think they are. Jacob's not your brother." He's lying." Choking on disbelief, Harold blinked hard. "What are you talking about? Family doesn't just forget." "I'm your sister," she cried, voice cracking. "He's been lying ever since Dad disappeared." The ground beneath him felt like it might just swallow him whole. "Another sister?" he whispered, voice trembling. He was reeling. Another layer of lies wrapped around him, squeezing tighter. The guard barked orders, trying to contain the chaos, but Harold couldn't shake the horror rising in his chest. "What do you mean? How could you be my sister?" "This is too complicated," the woman panted, tears mingling with the dirt on her cheeks. "Our father worked for an organization, a powerful group, and it wasn't just about farming." Jacob stepped forward, sneering at her. "She's manipulating you." "No, this is real. The truth is buried, and all he wants is to keep you naive." Eleanor's face flushed with pain and anger, struggling to process it all. "You've been alive this whole time?" she demanded, staring the newcomer down, her hurt floating into the air. Just then, the lights blinked off again, and all sound seemed to drop. Then, an unholy crack filled the silence, as if a thunderstorm had exploded right above them. In the blackness, Harold felt an icy grip wrap around his heart. "Mom!" Eleanor screamed. "Stay close!" Harold stumbled back, fear consuming him as he realized Jacob had moved toward the woman, eyes gleaming with something dark. "You've outlived your usefulness. It's time to end this farce." The next sound was a gunshot. The loud bang echoed, slicing through the air. Time froze. Harold's breath caught in his throat. Then chaos erupted. People screamed, flinging themselves against walls like caught prey. "Eleanor, run!" he shouted, but all he could see was the flash of darkness creeping toward them, forming a wall around the frantic crowd. In that instant, as the dust settled, a realization hit him harder than the shot. The pieces of the puzzle clicked violently into place. His mother wasn't just his mother. Eleanor had been part of this danger all along. What had she truly known? As he backed up, shock coursing through him, a familiar face appeared again, a shadow emerging from the chaos. He was sure he recognized it. Jacob smirked, and it felt like betrayal throbbed between them. The room trembled with panic, but he hesitated, glancing back at Eleanor. "What about my mother? Do you really think she's on your side?" The woman shot back, urgency in her voice, every word vibrating through him like a countdown. Harold's mind raced like a freight train, twisted, spinning towards something he couldn't fathom. Loyalty? Lies? Family? Who was he really? And as he made a split-second decision to follow, darkness consuming them all around, he felt the weight of betrayal press against him. The mystery deepened, like a pit of shadows waiting to swallow him whole. Could he handle the truth waiting on the other side? Harold stood frozen, his heart thrumming wildly in his chest, as the chaos swirled around him. He forced himself to focus on the woman claiming to be his sister. "You're my sister?" he murmured, disbelief crackling in the air. But before she could respond, another gunshot echoed through the hallway, sharp and harsh like a knife slicing open the night. The crowd erupted into panic, bodies scrambling for the nearest exit. Harold felt adrenaline pump through his veins, almost blinding him to everything but survival. "Come on!" he shouted, grabbing the woman's arm as they took off down the emergency stairs, feet pounding against the metal steps, the numbers on the walls zipping by. 3, 2, 1. "Harold!" Eleanor's voice rang out in a mix of desperation and fear, breaking through the cacophony behind them. He turned, caught for a split second between the chaos and his mother's pleading eyes. But the sister, what was her name, grabbed his hand tighter. "We can't help them now. They'll be killed." The words struck like icy water. What had he stumbled into? They burst through the exit door, stumbling into the frantic night air outside. The stars were shrouded by smoke and chaos, flashing lights of police cars illuminating the scene. But instead of escaping, they ran straight into more confusion. A group of frantic townsfolk clung to one another, eyes wide with horror. Screams erupted as a police officer tried to maintain order, yelling orders, but his voice was lost in the pandemonium. "Get back! We need you to stay calm." "Who are they?" Harriet pressed, pulling the woman closer. "What's happening?" "They're after us!" she exclaimed, eyes darting around. "Jacob's not just a brother, he's part of a larger organization. They'll do anything to keep the truth buried." At that moment, another explosion rocked the building behind them, sending debris raining down like confetti of chaos. The ground shook beneath Harold's feet. Panic surged again. How much danger were they really in? Suddenly, two figures dashed past, tearing through the crowd with frenzied determination. "Mom! Harold!" Eleanor's voice sliced through the night. Harold's chest tightened. He screamed their names, but the chaos swallowed his voice. "No!" he gasped, desperate, as he caught a glimpse of Eleanor, just a few feet away. But she was being pulled back by the guard. "I can't leave her," he yelled, torn between the woman beside him and the frantic pleading of his mother. "Trust me, we need to find safety." The sister tugged his arm, and he felt a strange pull toward her. But as Harold hesitated, everything shifted in an instant. A loud bang rang out, far too close, and a figure emerged from the smoke behind Eleanor. It was Jacob. "Let her go!" Harold shouted, rage exploding within him. "Harold!" Eleanor cried, catching his eyes with fear and defiance. Just then, Jacob lifted something glimmering, a small device. "You don't understand what's at stake," he yelled. "You cannot stop this." Harold squinted through the haze as Jacob pressed a button. A burst. A light exploded from the device, illuminating the smoky darkness with a surreal glow. But then, something twisted in the air, something real and sharp. An explosion, this time a devastating quake that shattered the ground beneath them. Harold stumbled, crashing against the woman, and before he could gather his thoughts, the air filled with thick, choking smoke. He coughed and wheezed, but as the dust began to settle, something or someone stood amidst the chaos that made his breath catch in his throat. It was their father, standing there, alive, and somehow unchanged. But there was something wrong. He looked eerily calm, a smirk playing on his lips. "Welcome home, Harold," he said, shocking waves rippling through the crowd. "It's time to finish what we started." The rushing tide of all he thought he knew crashed against him. What had he just walked into? Questions flooded his mind, reality splintering. Were they really a family? Did he even know who he was anymore? And as the crowd gasped, everything blurred again. The truth twisted, darker than he ever imagined, leaving his world suspended on the brink. Just when he thought he had to choose between Eleanor and the woman, between the past and what lay ahead, he felt a deepening uncertainty. Was this truly the end, or had they only just begun? Harold stood frozen, his heart thrumming wildly in his chest as the chaos swirled around him. His mind struggled to keep up with the words cascading from his father's lips. "Welcome home, Harold." The weight of those words crashed over him. Everything he thought he knew shattered. His father? Alive? The truth felt like sand slipping through his fingers. "No," he gasped, barely able to form the word. You can't be here." But his father stepped closer, a sinister calm in his eyes, as debris rained around them. The game is just beginning, son. You've much to learn about our legacy. Panic jolted through Harold. He wanted to shout, to run, to grab Eleanor and leave this nightmare behind. But Jacob's sinister grin wrapped around his throat, tightening. You see, we're family in ways you can't even imagine. And it's time for you to choose your side. Just then, a deafening roar pulled everyone's attention. A black SUV screeched to a stop nearby, tires smoking. A group of armed figures poured out, faces obscured by masks, silent and fierce. The crowd fell silent, tension thick in the air. They moved with precision, like predators stalking prey. "Harold!" Eleanor screamed, her voice drenched in desperation. "Run!" But something tugged at him, rooting him to the spot. The chaos morphed, shifting focus as the armed figures surrounded them, blocking every escape route. His pulse quickened. The ground beneath his feet felt unstable. "Stay together!" one officer shouted, attempting to corral the panicked townsfolk. But their eyes were wild, fear radiating in every direction. The air crackled with danger. "Father," Harold managed, voice trembling. "What do they want?" "They want the truth," his father replied, voice smooth and cool, devoid of concern. "And we can't let them have it, Harold. You need to understand what they're capable of." In that moment of charged air, everything changed. The masked figures turned their gaze straight at Harold, and the lead figure pulled off their mask. The town erupted in gasps. It was a face he recognized all too well, his estranged cousin. "Claire! Harry!" she shouted, voice breaking through the chaos. "You have to come with us." Shock twisted in his gut. "Claire, why are you here?" But her response came too late. A loud bang erupted again, but this time it was followed by the scream of a woman in the crowd. Eleanor had been pulled back, struggling against the grip of a masked man. "No, Eleanor!" Harold roared. In that flash, everything fractured. Everything he thought he understood melted away. Claire lunged into the fray, grabbing Harold's arm. "We don't have time! They're going to expose everything!" His father's face hardened. "No, we can't let them know about the organization. It's a matter of national security." "You don't know what's at stake." "National security?" Harold gasped, confusion slicing through the turmoil. "What could possibly be more important than my mother's safety?" But before he could process anything else, another explosion rocked the pavement around them. Dust flew, blinding him for a moment. When he could see again, Claire was pulling him away. But it wasn't just an escape. She was dragging him toward the black SUV. Urgency leaked from every pore. "Come on, Harry, you're in this deeper than you realize. You don't have to follow them." A sick twist in his gut seized him as he glanced back toward his father and Eleanor. The masked man tightened his grip, and she struggled vainly, eyes wide with fear. "Do I trust you?" Harold's voice trembled, wavering in the midst of chaos. "Yes," Claire replied, resolute. "But it's not just about trust. It's about survival." As they bolted for the SUV, a thought struck him. Was she really his ally, or was all this a trap? And as his heart raced, so did the question hanging heavy in the air. What else had they been hiding from him? In a blur, Claire jumped inside, urging him along. But just as Harold hesitated, uncertainty swallowing him whole, the world spun one last time. He caught a glimpse of Jacob and his father, their dark figures melting into the chaos. "Go!" Claire shouted. But all he could do was look back. In that fleeting moment, the question crystallized in his mind. What legacy awaited him, hidden in the shadows? Was he just a pawn in someone else's game? Harold's heart pounded as he stood at the edge of chaos. The smoke swirled around him, wrapping tighter with every heartbeat. Claire's grip felt like a lifeline, but he wasn't sure he wanted to be saved. "Do I trust you?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "Yes," she insisted, urgency spilling out of her. "We don't have time." But all he could think about was Eleanor, her desperate eyes pleading for help, and their father's ominous presence looming behind the chaos. The danger sharpened into focus with each tick of his racing heart. "Go," Claire urged, pulling him toward the SUV. But Harold hesitated, torn between the two worlds, a mother fighting to reclaim him, and a sister he barely knew, vowing to protect him. Just then, another explosion rocked the ground, sending shockwaves through the air. It felt like the ground might swallow them whole. Before he could take a breath, a sharp cry pierced through the noise. "Stop! Don't go!" He turned sharply. It was Eleanor again. The urgency in her voice shot through his hesitation. "Harold, I need you!" Something in her tone ignited a flicker of hope, and with a burst of instinct, he broke free of Claire's grasp, sprinting toward Eleanor. Time stretched as he pushed through the chaos, the air thick with fear. Then he saw it, a figure darting through the smoke, moving quickly, weaving around the yelling crowd. It was Jacob. Harold's stomach churned. What was he doing? But before he could process it, he felt a hard shove against his shoulder. "Stay away from her!" Jacob hissed, eyes wild and twisted with rage. "Let her go!" Harold yelled, fists clenching. But that's when it happened. The ground shook violently again, a tremor that jolted everyone and forced the chaos to a halt. And then, within a heartbeat, the smoke cleared, just enough for Harold to see what lay in front of him. A woman stepping from the shadows. "Mom?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Harold!" The woman's voice cracked with urgency as she emerged, eyes wide with panic. An unsettling familiarity washed over him. "We can't stay here. We need to talk." His heart did a flip. "But you were gone. How are you—" "I'm here now, and we don't have much time," she insisted, glancing at Jacob, whose expression darkened with fury. But as she reached for him, everything changed again. A loud pop shattered the already fragile air, followed by a blinding flash. Harold stumbled back, shielding his eyes. As he blinked against the light, reality slashed through the fog of confusion. A blaring alarm screeched around them. It was deafening, sending waves of panic through the crowd. The masked figures raced forward, weapons drawn. And tension engulfed the scene like a suffocating shroud. "Harold!" Claire shouted, from somewhere behind him, fear carving into her voice. "Get out! Now!" But he couldn't move. His mother had just returned. Everything within him screamed to follow her. Yet he was standing at a crossroad, teetering on the brink of two worlds, two realities. "Where's your father?" she demanded, but the urgency in her tone was undercut by a chill in his chest. And that was when the shocking truth erupted, ripping apart the veil of confusion. "Who do you think you are?" Jacob sneered, pressing forward, eyes ablaze with a dark, twisted truth. "She's not your mother, Harold. She's a plant, a spy sent to keep you from knowing the real truth." The breath left Harold's lungs like a sudden blow. What? No, that's impossible. But the heat of the moment swirled like a storm around him. Harold, listen to me! She reached for him again, desperation etched in her features. You have to trust me. We have to escape. But all Harold could see was Jacob smirking in the periphery, satisfaction dripping from his expression. Her time is up, Harold. It's time for you to choose who you really want to be, one of us or a puppet in her game. Everything spiraled as confusion and pain twisted in Harold's gut. How could everything he believed be a lie? He stood there, heart racing as the truth crashed down on him. Who was telling the truth? And what did he truly want? The fight around him continued, but it felt distant. Each second stretched painfully, leaving him caught between two worlds. The heat of betrayal burned, and the question hung heavy in the air. What if everything he believed was just the beginning of a far deeper deception? Would he ever uncover the truth, or would it swallow him whole? Harold stood there, caught in a whirlwind of confusion. Eleanor's desperate eyes clashed with Jacob's taunts, and his mother's sudden appearance sent reality spiraling. An internal storm raged, pulling him in every direction. What is happening? He whispered, but chaos drowned out his thoughts. Harold! Claire shouted again, urgency slicing through the chaos. He could feel his heart pounding, the pressure of uncertainty weighing heavy on his chest. All he wanted was a moment of clarity, just a single thread of truth in this tangled web of lies. Then Jacob stepped forward, eyes glimmering with malice. What you don't know will tear you apart, brother! The masked figures began closing in around them, moving like shadows, swift and unforgiving. Harold's instincts screamed. He needed to protect Eleanor, to save the fragments of his life that still felt familiar. Before he could take a step nearer to his mother, another explosion rocked the ground, sending shards of concrete flying. The air filled with dust and screams, panic painting faces all around him. He shielded his eyes, blinking against the debris to find Eleanor once more. Mom! But she was lost again in the chaos. And then, an unexpected figure stepped into the clearing smoke. A woman, dressed in a simple yellow dress. Her hair glowed like sunlight, even amidst a battle zone. Harold froze. His breath caught in his throat. It was Lily, his childhood friend who had vanished years ago without a trace. Lily? The name slipped from his lips, along with disbelief. Why was she here? What was happening? Harold! She shouted, urgency seeping through her voice like an open wound. You need to listen to me, now. They've lied to you about everything. He recoiled, confusion pounding in his chest. What? What do you mean? But before she could respond, Jacob lunged forward, anger twisting his features. Get away from him, you don't belong here. His voice was a sharp knife cutting through the moment. Wait! Lily's voice was steady, like an anchor amidst the storm. You don't understand. Harold is in more danger than he realizes. The truth is much darker. She caught Harold's trembling hands, gripping them fiercely. Your whole life, it's a cover-up. The weight of her words crashed over him, and he struggled to comprehend. What are you saying? Suddenly, from behind Lily, the masked figures surged forward, weapons raised, chaos erupting anew. Harold felt the world tilt under his feet, a sickening churn in the pit of his stomach. Run! Claire shouted, pulling at him again. Already darting away, urging him to move, but his heart pounded louder than the chaos. No! He yelled, torn between the past with Lily and the desperate noise around him. What truth? What have you hidden? and then a figure stepped up from behind them, a tall man in a dark suit, face obscured, but voice dripping with authority and menace. "Enough games!" he barked, eyes locking onto Harold. "Your father sold you out. He's been playing you from the start." In that instant, the ground beneath Harold felt as if it had cracked wide open. Everything he thought he knew flipped upside down. A chilling realization washed over him. Who could he trust? "Stop!" Harold shouted. But the sound was swallowed by the terror erupting around them. He locked eyes with his mother, whose shocked expression mirrored his own disbelief. "What are you doing, Mom? Is it true?" Emotion tightened in his chest as he gasped, and the shadows shifted, the masked figures moving. Closer, the weight of the truth plummeting like a stone into his heart. "Harold!" Eleanor began, voice cracking, trembling with fear. "We didn't want you to know. We were trying to protect you." But Lily's grip tightened, her expression fierce, desperate. "There's more, Harold. It's not just your father. You've been part of a larger game, a pawn in their sick little plot." The urgency of her words hit him like a thunderclap, shattering everything. "What plot?" he gasped. A feeling like icy dread curling in his stomach. As the chaos unfurled around them, the truth came crashing down, the weight of its reality bending him low. Each revelation transformed everything, twisted the very foundation upon which he had built his life, leaving him teetering on an emotional knife's edge. And just as that truth settled in his mind, a blinding light erupted behind him. The ground shook violently, the air thick with confusion and fear as Harold faced the fallout, heart racing. "Who am I?" he cried out into the storm, desperate as he felt the earth tremble again beneath his feet. Would he unravel the mystery, or would the truth consume him whole before he had the chance? Harold stood on the precipice of chaos, the very fabric of his life unraveling before him. Lily's desperate gaze swam with urgency, locking onto his like a beacon in the storm. "You have to listen. The truth could mean everything." But it was Eleanor's voice cutting through the noise with palpable fear that broke through his frozen facade. "Harold, we need to escape now!" Panic twisted her features as visible terror seeped into the air. The ground shook again, and the air felt electric, crackling with tension. Harold's pulse raced. Should he follow Lily into the unknown, or protect Eleanor from the darkness closing in around them? "Harold!" Jacob's mocking tone crawled in, punctuated by the sharp crack of another explosion. "Why fight against your own family? You're meant for greatness." A deep rage flared within Harold. Greatness? By lying and manipulating everyone? No. Think about it. Jacob's voice was a slick veneer over the chaos. You could be part of something beyond imagination. "It's time you embraced who you are." "Enough!" Eleanor cried, fierceness igniting her voice. "He's not like you, Jacob. He deserves more." Harold felt the swell of emotion rising in his chest. Love for his mother, intertwined with rage towards the lies that had bound him for so long. "What do I deserve?" he shouted. And in that moment, clarity sliced through the chaos. A figure moved swiftly through the smoke, an officer in a tactical vest, wild-eyed and frantic. "We need to move, now!" Sensing an opportunity beneath the madness, Harold lunged towards Eleanor, grabbing her hand, their fingers intertwining with a fierce determination. "We're leaving!" But a warm grip seized his shoulder. Lily's frantic hold. "Not yet! You need to! Know the truth first." "I don't care!" Harold yelled, pulling away. resolve hardening in his heart. I won't be part of this anymore. With a surge of instinct, he turned his back on Jacob and sprinted into the chaos with Eleanor. Heart racing, they plunged through the scattering throng, gunfire erupting in the distance, sounding alarm bells deep within him. Outside, police lights flashed like angry fireflies. The sound of sirens echoed like wailing souls, thrusting them forward. "Come on!" Harold urged, desperately scanning for a safe haven. "Harold!" Lily called, fear lacing her voice. "You're not safe!" But he was on a mission. No more lies. No more secrets. "Then let's get out of here!" he screamed back. But as they reached the edge of the chaos, another explosion rocked the air, knocking them off their feet. Dust coated everything, swirling around them like a mad dance. Harold's vision blurred as he fought to regain his footing. "Eleanor!" he shouted, panic clawing at his throat as he pulled her up, cradling her face between his hands. "We'll get through this. Together." Tears shimmered in her eyes, and for a fleeting moment, the world outside faded. "You're so strong, my boy. Trust your instincts. Trust family." Just then, the door to the SUV crashed open. Claire grabbed Harold and Eleanor, ushering them in. "Hurry! We can find a way to escape." As they piled inside, urgency bursting at the seams, Harold caught one last glimpse of Jacob looming amidst the ruins, his expression a blend of rage and defeat. "You'll never escape the truth, Harold." With that, the SUV roared to life, speeding away from the chaos. The danger began to dissipate, but the weight of revelations lingered, pressing down like an anchor. "What now?" Harold murmured, voice shaky, uncertainty gnawing at the edges of his mind. "Now," Lily said, her voice steady, "we fight for what's right. We uncover the truth." Eleanor nodded in fierce agreement. "And this time, we do it together." As they raced into the unknown, hope flickered like a flame, guiding them forward. Harold felt the chains of the past slowly unravel. They were free, the truth waiting on the horizon, and they would face it together. And so, before the story fades from memory, I need you to do something huge. The moment is now. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button right now. It feeds the algorithm so we can keep bringing these tales to life. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. I want to hear all your insights. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Only real fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's build this community together.